Well, it's always a pleasure to speak to my countryman, Ryan Briscoe, at any stage. By the way, we should say the 2020 Rolex 24 at Daytona winner overall, Ryan Briscoe. But we're not talking about IMSA today, mate. Let's talk about one of the wildest NTT IndyCar Series races ever. And that was the 2015 race at Auto Club Speedway Fontana, where you had a pretty death-defying crash, to say the least. When you hear 2015 Fontana, what are the first thoughts that are evoked?
Well, I mean, yeah, I was thinking about it when you called earlier, and that was actually my last ever IndyCar race. And man, it was wild. I mean, cool race, 500-mile race. And unfortunately, I ended up airborne on lap 499 and, just came up one lap short. But it was a phenomenal race. I mean, I was with Schmidt-Peterson that year. I'd been filling in for Hinchcliffe after he'd had his Indy 500 crash in practice.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a really strong car. I mean, we'd had a lot of strong races on that second half of the year. I remember Fontana, we led a lot of laps, and it was just so much fun to be racing at the front, leading so much. Fontana's just such a wide track. You've got some guys were running the high line. My car was working really well on the bottom, and it's just wild. And unfortunately, I think it was Hunter-Reay and Karam, as we were taking the white flag, one lap to go. Those two tangled, spun in front of me. I had nowhere to go, rode Hunter-Reay's wheel, and up she went. Luckily, I was absolutely 100% fine, no injuries at all. Walked away, so that was good. But yeah, pretty scary finish, but an awesome race.
Can I tell you one of my vivid memories of that day, besides calling the race with Paul Tracy and Steve Matchett, my F1 teammate? He was filling in for Townsend that day. And I was talking to Steve earlier today. He was still amazed that you were able to walk away. But we had to stick around in the booth for a little while after the checkered flag just to do a few things. And I remember looking out the window, out across the start finish, and seeing you walk back over that grassed area, and you'd left this car-sized divot basically in the grass, and you went and lay in it and got somebody to take pictures of you in it. I mean, that's how big it was, right? That's a true story.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because when the car went up, it then sort of came down. I forget how it came down, but at some point, the nose of the car made the divot into the grass. And so the whole front end of the car, like up to my feet, was just full of dirt and grass. So we were like, man, we got to go see what sort of damage we made to the infield out there. So I rode out, I think it was with our PR girl at the time. And so we head out there, have a look at it. And it looked like, larger than body size sort of hole in the ground. And as a joke, I went and laid in it and had my photo taken with it. And then afterwards, a lot of people were like, man, that was really dark what you were doing out there. Like you were lying in your own grave.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't think of it that way, but we were having a bit of fun, and it was impressive, the mark we made.
So take us into that moment where you mentioned about Hunter-Reay and Sage Karam spinning in front of you. You've had some big crashes in your career, and fortunately you've been able to walk away most of the time. You know that you're about to have a crash. Take us inside your world. What are you thinking, or you don't get time to think? Like how does it all transpire?
Well, I mean, firstly, I was kind of pissed to be in the position I was in at that moment, because I'd sort of been running top 2, top 3 all day long. And then the yellow would come out. So we'd spend a few laps under caution, and I took the restart, I think from first or second, and I just left the bottom lane just open enough where it was either Hunter-Reay or Kanan got down the inside of me, and I sort of got freight trained after the side draft happened. And so all of a sudden we've come around to take the white flag, and I'm sitting in 5th position, I think, still hoping, I'm going to make a move in the last lap and try to get the win still if I can. But it was the first time basically all race long where all of a sudden I had a group of cars right in front of me taking the white flag. Hunter-Reay and Karam, change lanes in the opposite direction right in front of me. They make contact, and I just see it all happen in front of me. And I'm just like, damn it. I mean, like, I've had such a good day, and now it's all over. And next thing, so I know I'm going to hit him. I'm going to spin. And next thing, the car goes up in the air. And at that point, you're just a passenger. And
everything goes quiet.
Well, yeah, it goes quiet, but you're just hoping that it's not going to go towards the fence, because that's when bad things happen. So it just goes up, and I'm like, oh, and I'm at the front of a big field. So you're like, oh my God, I hope I don't land in the middle of the traffic and get hit. So at that point, you're just hoping like, all right, let's get out of this, alive. And
what about when you are, and I can remember with Steve and Paul, we're saying they're 3 wide, they're 4 wide, they're 5 wide, they're, whatever. It just kept growing. Yeah. So when you're in that and what are you doing at Fontana? Close to 200? Maybe more than 200?
No, mate, we're doing like to high teens, like
right,
220s, I think.
So you're doing the 220s, and say, for instance, you're in the middle, even though you said your car was working well on the low line. So you're surrounded by maybe at least 2, 3, 4 other cars in that line. How do you manage that? You got to look forward as much as you're looking sideways, mirrors. Like what are you doing?
I mean, you're trying to find the gap, right? And I knew I'd made that mistake on the restart of just leaving the bottom open. So after we got back through 3 and 4, I was getting back to the bottom, because I think my car that day, I was running a bit more downforce than most. As it was cooling down at the end of the race, I think that was starting to favor a few of the others, and they were able to get to the bottom where the quicker lap times were coming. But, I was able to run the bottom line flat, and I think that's where my advantage was. So I was trying to get to the bottom. Everyone starts, with a lap to go, 2 laps to go. It's just getting wild. I mean, everyone's just hustling and bustling and trying to do their best. So you're trying to find these tiny gaps, and you forget about how fast you're going, and you forget about how fast it is, how dangerous it is, what the consequences might be. And everyone's just, trying to get to the front. And that's sort of the position I was in at that moment when things went sideways. And, sometimes you're just at the wrong place. And, I was at the wrong place there. It would have been nice if just Hunter and Aaron took themselves out and everyone went on. But unfortunately, I was right up their backs, and I had maybe a car length behind them and there was nowhere to go. So at that point, you try to avoid a crash. When I couldn't avoid it, then you're hoping for the best.
So it was one of the top 5 IndyCar races of all time as far as the closest finish, Graham Rahal coming away with the victory. Where does it rank in your top 5? Is it in your top 5 of craziest races ever?
I mean, another 2 miles and I think it would have. No, I mean, as far as crazy races, it does. It's right up there. Definitely one of my more memorable races. And especially being with, Schmidt Peterson Racing, it's not known for being the team that is winning every weekend. So to be competing against the Ganassis and Penske's and everyone that day to go for the win, it was special, and for me it was last race of the year. Turned out to be my last IndyCar race, and it was definitely a highlight, and at that time I was still looking at options to continue in IndyCar, and that was certainly helping. But no, I've had some great ones. I mean, other ones like that have been, Texas races, Chicagoland races, where they sort of become pack races, and you sort of walk away, and we all sort of have conversations after, saying, "Man, that was crazy," and it's sort of lucky no one got hurt today, because the racing is just so close and so fast. But it was just a really fun race. I mean, that track, when there's grip and everyone's going for it, some cars were working up high, like on the 4th lane, some were working on the 3rd lane, and if you really had the grip, you could make it work on the bottom lane. And that's sort of where, I was trying to make it work. And I think for a lot of the race, until the, pretty much the last restart, I think I was maybe the only one making the car work right down the bottom, wide open. And, but, you got the draft, you get through the corner, it was sort of like a slide dog that you're seeing sprint cars, where you're behind the bottom, you push the distance, you make them move, you come back up in front, but then they've got the speed for running the high line and get you back. And I mean, it was just non-stop action all day long. So I think it'll be a really fun race to rewatch, which I haven't done since I raced this. So I'm looking forward to watching it again.
Well, thanks, mate. Thanks for being a part of Racing Week in America, and we look forward to talking more to you and about you when whenever the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship schedule resumes. So there he is, Ryan Briscoe. Thanks, Ryan.
Yep, thanks a lot. Look forward to seeing you at the track again soon.